Whenever I see stupid stuff like this coming out of Canada's federal government, it doesn't offend me anymore. I'm not mad about it. I'm just tired because it's so tiresome for me to imagine the sort of tedious woke worldview that would cause someone in the Veterans Affairs office to post something like this on Easter. So, the Veterans Affairs Ministry actually posted this on X yesterday. It reads, we want to wish veterans, current members of the Canadian Armed Forces, and the RCMP and their families a happy March holiday season. Really, guys, March holiday season? Again, I'm not even mad. It's just so stupid. I can't be mad at it. Really, there was a meeting in the Veterans Affairs Ministry where the comms department came together and somebody posted the default sort of terminology that they would normally use in any other given year, like, oh, here's the thing that we're planning for our Easter holiday post. And that someone said, really, that seems a little bit of like some harsh language. Should we really say something like Easter? That could offend someone. And they actually had to probably have a back and forth discussion about, well, what language is more inclusive around this holiday that is specifically exclusive to Christians celebrating it. I never understand the idea that we need inclusive language around a holiday that is only meant for one specific group who actually cares about the holiday. Like, and remember, the government would never do this around any other religious holiday, pretty much, unless it involves Jewish people, because now the liberals and the NDP are very down on Jewish people. So maybe during Hanukkah, they would just say the beginning of December holiday season. But with Easter, you know that they're only doing this because the liberal government has a strange aversion to explicitly Christian holidays. So in a meeting in the Veterans Affairs office, they're like, well, March holiday season kind of indicates we're talking about Easter, and maybe it won't offend Christians, but it won't also offend other people who don't celebrate Easter. This is why if a conservative government beats the liberals, and they very likely will in 2025, I'd actually just like the federal government to just do away with celebrating holidays, unless it's like an actually federally recognized holiday that applies to everybody. Don't post anything. Don't post anything for Halloween, for Easter, for Ramadan, for Hanukkah, for anything. Nothing for Passover. Who cares? I don't think politicians should be signaling to people in their riding that, hey, I sort of celebrate your holidays too, because you don't. If you're like an atheist, you're not celebrating anyone's religious holiday seriously. If you're a Christian, you're not celebrating an Islamic holiday. If you're Islamic, you're not celebrating a Jewish holiday. If you're Jewish, you're not celebrating, a Hindu holiday. It's silly. I don't like this in government. It's just pedantic and dumb. And that's why, again, I can't get mad at it. It's just so funny to me that there was actually a meeting that took place where liberal government staffers had to find a way of not offending anyone during Easter. Let's call it the March holiday season. If you're going to call it the March holiday season, just don't even bother posting anything about it. If anything, it demonstrates to people that you were maybe going to call it the Easter holiday season. You're like, ugh, too religious. Let's not do that because we have a strange disrespect for Christian Canadians. And as a Christian Canadian, I don't need a secular government recognizing a holiday that I celebrate. Jesus died on a cross for everybody's sins, and if they're not actually going to recognize the real purpose of the holiday, and they're just going to say Happy Easter, don't post about it at all. If anything, that's actually offensive, and pretending like you're actually somehow getting me on board by posting about my holiday. So that's that. Let's get rid of holidays in government. Let's just get down to the actual business of government. And maybe this is a slightly smooth, if not clunky, transition. It's both smooth and clunky at the same time. I'm running for the Calgary Signal Hill Federal Conservative Party nomination. Shameless plug. I, Wyatt Claypool, I'm running for this riding. If you live in this riding on the west side of Calgary, buy a membership, vote for me. Check out my website in the description below, wyattclaypool.com. I guarantee, based on the fact that a lot of my videos have like 50,000 views, 20,000 views, 100,000 views, a bunch of you live in my riding, and you're lying to me by not clicking on the link and buying a membership. If you want a real conservative representing your conservative ridings, you actually need to buy a membership and vote for the people who are most conservative in your area, or you're going to end up with a red Tory representing you, somebody who, if they were in Toronto, they'd run for the Liberals. If this was Vancouver, they'd run for the NDP. They happen to be living in Calgary, so they're running in a conservative nomination. So not to pivot away from the normal topic the topic I started out on. regardless of what part of the country you live in, buy conservative membership so you can make sure that you have a conservative representing you. The biggest threat to a Polyev government right now is a bunch of liberals running in conservative nominations. So once the Conservative Party is in government, a good third of the MPs actually would have ran for the liberals if they had a better chance in their riding. So I just wanted to mention that. And also, again, we have a legal fund linked in the description below. It's a Give, Send, Go link for the legal fund for myself and the National Telegraph. We have a ridiculous billionaire developer suing us for defamation. Defamation he cannot prove, has not provided any evidence for over after 2 years, and is just dragging this out as long as possible. If you can donate anything to that fund, it really helps us out. And if I was to pivot to something else to talk about right now, it is hilarious to me. After my last video talking about all the experts who came out to oppose Pierre Poilievre's opposition to the carbon tax and all the other premiers and even Liberal Party leaders like Bonnie Crombie in Ontario, there's all these people attacking you like, what, you don't believe in climate scientists? What, you don't believe in the climate? You hate science? Oh, you don't like economics because you oppose these economists attacking Poilievre's for not liking the carbon tax? I'm like, well, yeah, because I disagree with them and they're obviously so left-wing. It doesn't matter what the evidence is for whether the carbon tax works or not. They have a skewed perspective on what makes the tax good, and so they will justify the tax based on that. They are not talking in the realms. They are not even in the realm of what Canadians care about when it comes to the carbon tax. They care about government power. They care about climate action. They care about redistributionary governmental tax schemes. So they will support something like the carbon tax. That is not, I don't care about their perspective because they don't have the priority of most Canadians who just want to be able to afford their groceries and their home heating on all the stuff without having excess pressure on them from the carbon tax. That is the priority of most Canadians, and that is why the carbon tax has become wildly unpopular. Just because you can maybe show me that the carbon tax has slightly reduced GHG emissions will not get anyone back on board. Caring about GHG emissions is a luxury belief. You only care about GHG emissions because you have enough money at home to be able to care about it. You don't care if the government's taxing you a little bit more because you get to feel good that you take climate change seriously and it only costs you maybe a couple $1,000s extra over the next couple of years. Well, that's not the priority of people who are low income or struggling to stay in the middle class. They actually care about being able to put food on the table. And that's what you see in the polling right now. I know we start off at Easter. I am way past Easter. I know people like when I go down rabbit holes because it means that I cover interesting topics I wouldn't normally make a video about. But there's polling that came out showing that the group who was still most supportive of the Liberal government. It's not the people that the Liberals would like to think support them. The Liberals would like to think it's the middle class, normal, moderate voter supporting them. It's not. It's actually rich people. Rich people really like the Liberal government. People who label themselves as extremely economically comfortable, those are the ones who support the Liberals. If you are if you're economically struggling or pinched, you are voting for the Conservatives, not even the NDP, who tries to make it itself the party of the working class and the lower middle class. They're going to the Conservatives because the Conservatives realize that when it's not even really profound, the Conservatives have even always run on, even under O'Toole, who was a horrible conservative leader. I said liberal leader because basically O'Toole was a liberal leader. But even under O'Toole, the Conservatives at least messaged towards keeping more money in your pocket. And no one's going to react to the Liberals saying, well, we took more money from you, but we've nickel and dimed a bunch of money back towards you through different random programs you're most likely not even going to access. And so you're actually better off with us if you become an extreme governmental couponer and you apply for every single program to try and drag back $5 here, $100 here, and whatnot, try and let the government swap the lights in your house to be able to get a tax credit. That's not how humans think. And this is why red Tory and leftist election strategies inevitably lose over time. The Liberals can win when people are comfortable in 2019 and 2015 and they're willing to vote for sort of high-minded leftist political ideology. But when they're actually in a crunch, they don't care about all of the little like minutia of government programs that are making their life better. They just want the money themselves because people like to be able to control their finances directly. This is why, and I was actually the one who got pure Polyev, both myself and other National Telegraph writers. We were the ones who got pure Polyev in the 2022 leadership race to embrace a policy to ban central bank digital currencies. And I believe his campaign thought that was a fringe issue at the time. Not that Pure Polyev wasn't against CBDCs. He was against CBDCs before we got him to take a stance on it. There's a lot of politicians have a lot of views they don't advertise because they don't think it's appealing to the vast majority of people. When I did a short 40-second interview with Pure Polyev and wrote up an article about it, it literally got 15,000 or so likes the first time I posted it on Facebook. And I didn't exactly have the biggest Facebook page for the National Telegraph at the time. Whoa, I can't even access that page anymore because Justin Trudeau's Bill C-18. But that basically convinced Pierre Poilievre's leadership campaign that they should take a stand on that issue. Because 12 days after my article came out and did wildly well on Facebook and Twitter at the time, now called X, within 12 days, his campaign rolled out graphics saying how much he was against CBDCs. It started becoming a part of his stump speech. And if you remember the 2022 leadership election, and this is not a point against Poilievre, not at all, but he had a very standard stump speech he would give. No matter what province he was pretty much in, outside of a couple of factors he would bring in here and there because it applied to a specific local region. Obviously, Pierre Poilievre generally stuck to a very standard speech he'd give everywhere. And it was only after my article that speech changed, and he started taking like a 5-minute section just to talk about the government trying to monopolize financial policy or financial controls of the Canadian economy by introducing central bank digital currency. And so he actually is in favor of banning it now. And this goes back to why, even though that seems like a fringe issue, it actually appeals to a lot of people. Because what the liberals want to do is saying, well, you're better off by giving more power to us and us controlling your money. That's why opposition to CBDCs is actually very popular with a lot of Canadians, because as the ultimate stand against the government taking control of your finances, being able to tax you directly from your bank account level, being able to monitor what you buy and whatnot, people hate that crap. And so even a middle class, very moderate voters, like pure centrists, they are not a liberal, they're not a conservative, they could vote either way, saying that I don't want the government controlling your bank account directly actually does get a lot of those people on board, because they like the ability to have all of their money being controlled by them, and they only have to interact with the government when they are interacting in the economy publicly or in terms of like their income and like taxing that. That's fine for most people. Once the government goes past that, people really get their backs to the wall and they start fighting back because they don't like the idea that the government is going to. This is why wealth taxes. People hate the idea of wealth taxes. The idea that the government's going to come in and audit all that you have to start taxing you directly based on your assets is not just incredibly like socialistic in terms of the attack it would be on your personal finances, but it's also a massive attack on your privacy, that the government gets to send in auditors if you have a certain amount of wealth and figure out what everything's worth so they can start taking it away from you. That's nuts. That is a totalitarian move to make, and a CBDC would be a first step towards it. So this has been a very long video of me starting off with the government not being able to say the word Easter and going all the way to central bank digital currencies. But this is to say everyone doesn't like the liberal government anymore. Even from the smallest things of not being able to say the word Easter, that is just that is just sort of emblematic of the fact that the liberals are deeply out of touch with what people want. They think that everyone lives and breathes through the government. That's why they can't say Easter, because they think everyone has so much investment in government that if they say Easter, it's going to alienate people, because people care what the government says. People don't care what the government says. They want the government out of their lives, so they don't care if the government says Easter or not. They want the government to stop taxing them so much. They want the government to not pass a CBDC. They want the government to stop censoring what people see online and trying to enforce hate speech laws. Sorry about the long video. I just got in a roll, and I'm going to stay on a roll if I ever get on one. Anyways, have a great day, everyone. I'll probably be back someday with a live stream with Daniel Boardman.